So I called one of my ex-partners from the Permian Basin Drug Task Force. He's a Yoakum County's DA's narcotics investigator now. And I asked him if he had any of that for my films, and he sold me that footage. I've kept it a secret this entire time. Now fast forward to 4 weeks ago when we set this dummy grow room and put Christmas trees under it instead of marijuana plants. And we triggered the cops to do an illegal raid. He was tied into that raid. And I kept telling the chief of police, who's trying to arrest Candy and I now because of this operation, we kept explaining, check for FLIR cameras. Because on the search warrant affidavit, the only reasons they had listed to raid the Copbusters home, of course they didn't know it was a Copbusters home, was an anonymous letter, and they made 2 drive-bys on the house. Well, that's not enough probable cause for a judge to sign the warrant. So he got busted as well. So I keep telling them, look, they're using these illegal FLIR cameras. They didn't believe it. So I said, in 3 days, I'll announce the proof, which was Monday. I announced the proof, and I explained that I know they have a FLIR camera because one of your officers sold me the footage for my anti-drug war film. So they drove by our house and flirted illegally and didn't put that in the warrant. The judge signed the warrant, and they kicked our door in. And we had hidden cameras in there that said you're part of a reality show called Copbusters. And all of us are unarmed. There's nothing illegal taking place. We'll be approaching within 10 minutes, all wearing red T-shirts.
So you had a recording going.
Oh, yeah, hidden cameras.
We played that video earlier. They were just totally freaked out.
In fact, there's a video on YouTube of the entire raid. It's 4 minutes, and you can see the cops walking around the room trying to figure out what's going on.
Tell you what, what's the name of that YouTube? We'll pull that up and play it.
Just go to copbusters.com, go to the second page. There it is right there. The second one.
Second one. We'll play that
No,
later.
the third one.
Third one down here.
Yeah, the third one. That's the entire raid. And we proved their willingness to lie on an affidavit, and we proved their willingness to do an illegal raid to expose these guys are crooked. And we drew the bridge. Look, this is the same group of guys that just planted the drugs on Yolanda and put her in prison for 8 years. So that was the big payoff of this sting, was to bring national attention to the Yolanda Madden case. By the way, in 60 days, we're going to sting another cop, so be ready for that. We're not going to stop. In fact, we could sting him today, but as well as you know, Alex, you know these things take time, and timing's important, so we're going to wait a little bit and get him.
Oh, a lot of work goes into this. I mean, I want to go into courage and talk a little bit to Candy about this. I mean, men are designed, so are women, to be able to go out and confront bullies and just kind of shut off the fear and ignore it because you know it's for the greater good. But for a woman, and again, women have great courage, but just still, myself being death threatened, myself covering Bilderberg, an elite meeting, and people calling up and having fake women, call up and say I got them pregnant, or calling up and threatening our family and our children. My wife's a special person. She deals with it. She just says, I know we're fighting this evil. She just laughs at them when they call. But they're always trying new tricks, or they'll call and say there's some woman and say Alex gave me a disease, or just all sorts of nasty, dirty tricks. So I've lived what you've lived. More from both of you about the types of threats you get, any type of reprisals, and how you so cheerfully have this courage and go through this, Candy.
Well, courage is contagious, and Barry started the courage, so it's I don't know. It doesn't bother me. We're doing the right thing. I know we're doing the right thing, and freedom, that's a big deal. There's 1.5 million people in prison right now.
1.5.
Yeah.
Well, they say that it's really 4 million total.
No, we're talking about 1.5 million children
without parents.
Without parents.
Oh my God.
There's 2 million now. Actually, there's 2
2 million.
Which the state loves, because then they get to CPS the children without due process.
And then that messes them up. We have 4 kids, and so I'm just fighting for them.
Candy, Candy. We work with the same energy that it was one of our kids sitting in prison.
Exactly.
Because we're not really free if one of our
No, that's the total spirit of liberty. Exactly. So when somebody does something to somebody else, I feel as if it's happening to me.
Right.
When I see those dead children in Gaza. Because I know that's why they call it a crime against humanity. People that are tuned in know that when you allow this to go on anywhere, and at least don't speak speak up against it and fight it, that you create a climate where it ends up happening to you or somebody you love.
That's exactly right, and that's what's happened in America. My father and grandfather voted their checkbooks and left it to a few select to protect their freedoms, and now they left us with an America that is not free. And we've realized that the citizens have to. We can't look to the police. We can't look to the politicians. We can't look to these people, the government, for our freedoms. The citizens have to fight back. And our weapons of warfare are video cameras, the internet, and courage.
Yeah, we need to take it
Those
back.
are our weapons of warfare. We don't have guns. We can't shoot the police. We can't put them in jail. They have jails and guns. Well, there's another weapon. We have lawsuits. Get out and sue the police, jam the courts. It only costs $350. There's YouTube clips of me explaining this. It costs $350. Walk down to the federal courthouse and get a pro se packet. Takes an hour to fill it out. Voila, the cops are sued in federal court. Candy and I have done it. We sued a judge and a police department. Cost us $350. It's wonderful.
And even if they beat the rap, they don't beat the ride.
That's right. The Attorney General has to spend money getting them expunged. And list everybody. List the judges. List everybody on the lawsuit. And, they'll get the judge recused from the lawsuit because they have immunity. But what it does do for you is it puts you in a position that judge can never sit in judgment against you again because you sued them.
Sure.
So they have to get an outside visiting judge. There's strategy involved.
Sure.
In it.
It messes their whole system up. We like that.
Or sometimes they don't recuse themselves and get more in trouble for violating the rules. Instead of myself just throwing out questions, other points, other important things you want to relay to people out there.
Just have courage. Just have courage. Stand up.
Keep fighting.
Yeah, keep fighting. Don't give up. Don't be afraid. Don't be scared. Just we'll help. Get on and do the copbusters. Report a cop.
Well, I'll tell
start
you.
suing cops. Do what you can.
I'll tell you. I get afraid when I'm not fighting. I get upset when I'm not doing something. That's what I'm.
Yeah.
But when you're standing up, I don't have any fear. Is that what you're experiencing?
Yes.
Yeah, we're not afraid.
No.
We're not.
Not at all.
And that's the neat thing about courage. Courage will take the fear away if you start exercising it. It's like a muscle.
Yeah.
But now, I'm not recommending for everybody to come out of the closet today and say, I smoke pot, because you might lose your job, you might go to jail. But there are all kinds of cool ways you can help stand up and fight this war.
I didn't have the courage I have now. I mean, that took a while from being with him, especially. It took a while for me to just stand up and go face the cops with them. It took a lot of, now it's like habit. The more you do it, the more you have, the more courage you have. So.
Well, I mean, the arrogance and 6,000 plus people that are, police officers against prohibition and growing, these judges, some of them high-powered, high-level, coming out and agreeing, more and more people standing up. I don't want to just indict all the police carte blanche, but when it is a corrupt, sickening system across the board, and they're so arrogant about it, and the one town I grew up in, they were dealing drugs and threatening teenagers to shut up. I mean, this is a great evil that's grown, and now it's being federalized with Homeland Security. Now, we have to say no now, because anytime you let national security run everything, anytime the people aren't involved, anytime you just say, oh, do whatever you want, you're going to get a tyranny.
Well, America, it is okay to talk bad about police without having to say the all too common phrase, now most of them are good, it's only a few that make them all look bad. That's not true.
It's the system.
It is the system. For one, they're dealing with a corrupt handbook. The penal code itself is corrupt. So if you have men that rally around a corrupt book, even though they might not plant drugs, and they might not break policies, they are breaking constitutional law, and they are the enemy, and they are corrupt because they picked up a book that they go by that's anti-American.
That's another issue. Finish up with any other threats you've gotten, and then what happens to good cops? Because I've interviewed a lot of famous New York detectives. One of them was the guy that ended up getting like 75% of the detectives fired when it came out most of them were dealing drugs. People like Serpico, where they shoot him in the face. I mean, we know, though, that cops that won't, first day as a detective, hey, keep this jewelry I took off a thug. They start corrupting right then.
It's certainly a process of corruption. And as you mentioned earlier, it's an us against them attitude. They're supposed to be a citizens police force, yet they show up to the scenes looking who they can arrest.
Or shoot.
Shoot. There needs to be an entire paradigm shift.
So it's predatory.
They need to show up to the scene saying, wondering in their own minds, who can I help?